Thank you for attending Grace Strong's first annual Shake It Up Lehigh Valley Gala to benefit Parkinson's patients and their families in the greater Lehigh Valley community. Parkinson's affects 10 million people worldwide and just thousands right here in Pennsylvania. My name is Eric Aquino and I am your host and founder of the Grace Strong Foundation. Tonight, with the support of our sponsors and you participating at home, we hope to make an impact right here, right now. Grace Strong was founded in 2018, shortly after I was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease, just at the age of 40. At the time, the diagnosis wasn't much of a shock, but what was a shock was the lack of resources in my own community. After being an advocate in the cancer community for over 12 years, and at the time, president of the local nonprofit organization that rallied the community around the cancer patients, I had an idea of what resources should be available. At least, I thought that would be the case. Sadly, I was mistaken. Yes, there are national organizations that help the community, such as the Michael J. Fox Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation, and the American Parkinson's Disease Association. Early in my journey with Parkinson's, I found out how crucial exercise was to maintaining a functional life with Parkinson's. With that in mind, our focus at the Grace Strong Foundation is to help people with Parkinson's move forward with the disease. My first thought, or when I finally got the diagnosis, was that now I can move forward with treatment. Because being in the healthcare field and having a grandmother who had Parkinson's, by the time I got the diagnosis, I was pretty sure that's what I had. So it was more a sense of, okay, now it's fact. Now I can move forward, start treatment, and just conquer the disease, or just live with the disease. My worst fear, and I think this was one of my first episodes, is the fear of not being able to work. I'm the sole provider of my family, and one fear that I've always had was not being able to provide as a head of household, and that's the only fear that I really have and that I think about. But other than that, I haven't had any doubts. At the beginning, you have doubts that maybe they were wrong, but Parkinson's is one of those things that it's a constant reminder, so there's no doubt. Like, you wake up, the minute I wake up, depending if I stretch wrong or if I haven't slept, because not sleeping is part of the non-motor issues, or I walk into my bathroom, I start shaking. I'm like, yep, that's right, I have Parkinson's. It wasn't a dream. So the stigmatism surrounding Parkinson's, or the connotation, is that you're going to become disabled. And back when my grandmother had it, that was true. You got to the point where you weren't going to be able to do a lot of things, and you would consider it was a different kind of being disabled. We're in an era where you can live more functional lives with Parkinson's because there's so much research. Go to the link to the bottom of your screen to show your support for the Grace Strong Foundation. You can win tickets to see Hamilton on Broadway and a trip to Disney. I want to go to Disney. Follow the link below to bid on hot yoga classes, dinner for two at Yanni's, and a round of top golf at the area's top golf courses. Folks at home, please follow the link below for auction items. And now, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Josh Kiner, Director of Physical Therapy at St. Luke's Hospital, Warren Campus. Josh has helped me tremendously to move forward with Parkinson's disease as one of my physical therapists.
My name is Joshua Kiner. I have a doctorate degree in physical therapy. Our location is at St. Luke's Physical Therapy, located in Hillcrest Plaza in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Our website is physicaltherapy@stluke's.org.
The key for Parkinson's treatment is vigorous exercise of aerobic, physical, sufficient activity to increase your heart rate and oxygen, sustaining it for 20 to 30 minutes. That heart rate range you want to shoot for is between 60 to 80% your max heart rate. To figure out your max heart rate, you do 220 minus your age, and that is your max heart rate. And you're going to multiply that by either 60% on the safe side, or if you really want to push yourself, 80%. So ways to improve motor learning. which is the key aspect for Parkinson's disease, because part of the brain that's affected is your storage warehouse for motor planning. So the way we go through that is by using goal-based training and aerobic activity, combining them together to help improve the components that's affected with the disease process. Another great benefit to improve your motor learning aspect and figure out how to break your cycle of the freezing or trying to learn new activities that you used to do it one way, now you have to do it a different way, is actually action observation therapy, which actually looks at observing someone performing an activity, and then you think about the actual movements of the breakdown of that movements in order to do that. So perfect example, one of them is drinking coffee. What steps are involved with drinking coffee? You know, you have to pour the coffee into a cup, adding sugar, turning the spoon, bringing the coffee to your mouth. Each motor task is seen for 3 minutes, typically from the front and the side view, so you get the best picture of the movement. How does that help you? Is because a lot of patients who have tremors that are shaking or trying to eat, they have to control and actively think about raising that cup to your mouth so it doesn't spill the liquids out, or you're raising your fork so your food doesn't fall off. Actively thinking about that movement is going to help control those abnormal movements, so that way you bypass the part that's not working. Remember, the basal ganglia, which is the parts that affected, is your storage warehouse for motor planning, which is your blueprints for movement. We have to actively think about movement using the front part of your brain to bypass it. So there's a few ways you can do that, and there's a few types of exercises out there. So the most expansive exercise program out there in the world is LSVT Big and Loud. It's been around for the past 30 years, since 1970. Recognized exercise program for Parkinson's disease. And I guarantee most of you in this room have done this program at some point in your career of going through therapy. So what it entails is massed exercise that's consistent, and the variables don't change. So it's consistent for the first 8 exercises, then you add some variability. Well, that's great and all for when you first start off, but you know, a lot of patients, you go, oh, this is the only program out there in therapy, you know, I get tired of doing it. What else is out there? There's a lot of new exercises since 2010 that's come about. Specifically power, you have Rocksteady Boxing, which incorporates boxing activities into physical movement.
Thank you everyone for this evening to watching along with all the different exercises specifically for Parkinson's. Key points is maintaining physical activity for 20 to 30 minutes a day, vigorous activity with maintain your heart range of between 60 to 80% max heart rate range, to maintain your style of life and to prevent further disease process of immobility. You know, let's fight back against Parkinson's disease.
Thanks for that wealth of information. All here to help us move forward with Parkinson's.
In the human brain, billions of neurons play in harmony. For people with Parkinson's, some neurons change their tune, causing uncontrollable tremors. Now, Abbott technology can target those exact neurons, restoring control and harmony, once thought to be lost forever. The most personal technology is technology with the power to change your life.
Please show us your support and register today at graystrong.org. And now Gray Strong is happy to share with you a new artist here tonight for your listening pleasure.
Everything is fine now. Let's sleep in Dog's Day. All our minds made up now. All our beds are made. No one's out of time. No chips fall where they may. Leave it all behind. Let the ocean wash away. It never was about the money or the drugs. For you there's only love. For you there's only love. It never was about the party or the clubs. For you there's only love. 'Cause you're my religion. You're how I'm living. When all my friends say I should take some space, even when the storm comes, in the eye will stay. No need to survive now, all we do is play. All I hear is music, likely Lady Lay. It never was about the money or the drugs. With you there's only love. With you there's only love. It never was about the party or the clubs. For you there's only love. 'Cause you're my religion. You're how I'm living. When all my friends say I should take some space, I can envision, not for a minute. When I'm down on my knees, you're how I pray. but you never go away. So I guess I gotta stay now. Oh, I hope someday I'll make it out of here, even if it takes all night or 100 years. Need a place to hide, but I can't find one here. Wanna feel alive, but I can't fight my fear. Isn't it lovely? All alone, heart made of glass, my mind of stone. Tear me to pieces, skin and bone. Hello, welcome home. Walking out of time, looking for a better place. Something's on my mind, always in my headspace, but I hope someday I'll make it out of here, even if it takes all night or 100 years. Need a place to hide, but I can't find one here. Wanna feel alive, but I can't fight my fears. Isn't it lovely? All alone, heart made of glass, my mind of stone. Tear me to pieces, skin and bone. Hello, welcome home. Isn't it lovely? All alone, heart made of glass, my mind of stone. Tear me to pieces, skin and bone. Hello, welcome home.
Thank you, Yerby. That's one of my favorite songs. You can follow Yerby at Yerby Music on social media. Be sure to download Yerby Music on all music platforms.
When Parkinson's disease impacts a family, patients and their loved ones have one goal: to find better treatments and a cure. At the Michael J. Fox Foundation, we make it our business to support that possibility in everything we do. Currently, we can't predict or prevent Parkinson's, but imagine a future where your doctor administers a blood test, sees your risk of Parkinson's, and gives you a treatment to prevent the symptoms. This is within our grasp, but we need your help to achieve it. The discoveries we need begin with the study of the human disease. As a patient or loved one, you're the real expert, and the insights you can provide about the disease could be at the heart of the next breakthrough. We still have a lot to learn about why some people develop Parkinson's and others don't, why some people progress quickly and others slowly. Genetics and environmental triggers can play a part in its onset, and aging is the greatest risk multiplier of all. This is the difficulty with Parkinson's. Its complex, individualized presentation is a problem, and yet it offers a possible solution. Not everyone with inherited risk factors is diagnosed with the disease, which tells us there's something in some people's cells that may protect against these problems. The symptoms and progression of Parkinson's affect everyone differently. Some people's symptoms can start with tremors, whereas others have effects such as fatigue and digestive issues before they ever experience a tremor. The answer will be found in all of us, not just those who have been diagnosed with the disease. Even if you don't have Parkinson's, but you're touched by the disease, or if you have characteristic Parkinson's-related symptoms, such as constipation, depression, or a loss of smell, your participation in research could fill in crucial parts of the puzzle. By studying Parkinson's together, with patients and their families participating in research studies, we can build a better overall picture of the disease. One day we'll be able to stop it in its tracks. Until then, let's work together to find better treatments and a cure, and put the Michael J. Fox Foundation out of business.
Our next presenter is one of the first guests on the Trembling EMT podcast, continued supporter of the Grace Strong Foundation. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce a keynote speaker this evening, Mr. Tim Hague, Season 1 winner of The Amazing Race Canada, noted author and TED Talk presenter.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us at this incredible event put on by the Grace Strong Foundation and Eric Aquino. My name is Tim Hague Sr. I'm a professional speaker, author. I have Parkinson's, and I'm a PD Avenger. I'm also the winner of the first season of The Amazing Race Canada.
Rock and roll, baby.
Father and son, Tim and Tim Jr.
You got it, Dad. Here we go.
started the race with the added challenge of Tim Sr.'s Parkinson's.
That diagnosis doesn't have to define your life.
This guy's my hero right here.
I'm really proud of him.
Leg after leg, Tim Sr. pushed himself beyond anyone's expectations.
You can do more than you think you can. You just have to be willing to try.
Good fortune smiled on the Tim.
This is a non-elimination round?
No.
Not once, but twice.
You are still in this race.
More than anyone, the Tims know it's now or never.
5 years from now, I won't have the physical capability to do this race. We have to win. Won't have a second shot.
Talk to me.
7 provinces, 3 territories, 15 cities, and over 23,000 kilometers.
There we go!
And you are the first winners of the Amazing Race Canada. Tim Sr., Tim Jr., you guys have won 2 2014 Corvette Stingrays, executive first-class travel for a year from Air Canada to anywhere in the world, and $250,000.
My dad has completely blown every expectation of him out of the water. Parkinson's isn't supposed to let you do half the things that he's done in this race. And he not only did them, he kicked their butt, man.
Well, folks, somehow that never gets boring watching that video. I have to tell you that that video is entirely my wife's fault. And I know that we're typically not supposed to blame our spouses for things in life, but you have to understand that she was an absolute fanatic when it came to the Amazing Race. And she had always said to me that if it ever comes to Canada, we're going to apply. Well, eventually it did come to Canada, and she insisted that my son and I apply. She always said, I guarantee you're going to get an interview. And she said, I guarantee that they're going to love the father-son team and that they're going to love your Parkinson's disease. Well, that story begins back in August of 2010. Back in August of 2010, a Saturday morning, I was sitting in my kitchen having coffee and drinking the Saturday morning newspaper as I often would, when a brand new thought entered my head. That thought was, my left big toe is twitching. So if you can imagine with me, sitting there reading the paper, look down, and sure enough, my left big toe is twitching. My next first thought was, this is not good. I immediately made the decision to do what any good husband would do, and that was keep my mouth shut. For you see, we had just crossed our 25th wedding anniversary that summer, and we had a 3-week trip planned to Europe that fall. So I thought to myself, well, you know what, we'll just sit on this. I might be wrong. It might go away. It might be nothing. We'll wait and see. Well, that anniversary trip turned out to be
fairly travel intensive, and it turned my toe tremor into a leg tremor that turned me into a bit of a basket case, leading me to tell my wife Cheryl earlier than I intended about the things I was experiencing. With her encouragement, we continued the trip and had a great time, and on our return I sat down with my GP and discussed in his office for about 20 minutes the fact that I likely had young onset Parkinson's disease. At the outset, I had what is likely a fairly typical response to most of you to the diagnosis. At the time I was in fairly good shape, I was running, cycling, and I decided that I wanted this diagnosis to be benign, that it wasn't going to matter, that this disease simply wasn't going to make a difference in my life, that I was going to put it on a shelf and ignore it. Well, in time I came to realize that simply wasn't possible, that this disease would not be ignored, that it would not allow itself to be put on a shelf and put out of mind. Well, I was tempted to allow it to be a curse, to raise a fist towards heaven, curse God and say, why me? And as I pondered that, I come to realize just how important that question, why me, really was. And the more I pondered it, and the more I considered how blessed my life had been pre-Parkinson's, it began to make no sense to me. For you see, I had been abundantly taken care of in life. I had a wonderful wife, 4 fantastic kids, 2 beautiful grandkids. Life had been very good. A career as a nurse. I began to realize that I had rarely stopped and blamed God for all the good stuff. And yet here I was so ready to blame him for the bad things in Parkinson's. And that just didn't seem to make any sense to me. So I made a decision. I realized that if it wasn't benign, if I wasn't going to allow it to be a curse, that I would walk forward from that day forward, treating Parkinson's as a blessing. To treat it as my new best friend, whom I hate, but as a blessing rather than a curse. To this day, folks, Parkinson's has given me far more than it's taken. The first thing that Parkinson's gave me was the opportunity to run the Amazing Race Canada. For you see, my wife was right. They did love the story of my Parkinson's, and that is in fact what got us on the race. If you're unfamiliar with the race, you can think of it as a giant scavenger hunt, where teams generally chase all over the world looking for a variety of clues and trying to perform a variety of tasks, all the while not coming in last on any given day. Had you had the opportunity to see our race, you would have seen that we were the dark horses. We were the come-from-behind Cinderella story that no one expected to happen. We were error-prone and chronically behind. We had multiple opportunities to roll over and die, knowing full well that no one would have been surprised and few would have mourned our passing. We struggled day after day, whether it was from my Parkinson's or from the simple fact that we couldn't read a map. We were chronically behind. We got lost, often. Never did we ever give anyone any indication that we would ever be successful on this race. Early in the race, at the end of leg 3, after having come in last for the first time and narrowly avoiding being sent home, we sat down and had a conversation that went something like this. What in the world are we going to do? How in the world are we going to fix this? As Tim Jr. and I sat talking that evening, we came across a discussion of tattoos. You have to understand that Tim Jr. has 2 tattoos. Well, at the time he had 2 tattoos. One of a symbol of the Christian Trinity, and on his back a passage from the Christian Scriptures, Psalms 46 verse 10. It says 2 words, cease striving. As we sat talking about that word striving that evening, we began to realize that neither of us really knew what it meant. So we did what we do these days when we come across something we don't know, and we headed to Mr. Google. Google the word striving, you'll find that it means to struggle or fight forcefully. It comes from the Old English, meaning to contend, to quarrel, to fight. It has a bit of the Old French attached to it for the word strife. It is that freaked out, stressed out way of thinking that says, by God, I'm going to make this thing happen no matter what it takes. That is how we came into the race. We came in thinking that we were going to win this thing no matter what it took. Whatever challenges they gave us, we were going to do them. Whatever food they gave us to eat, we were going to eat it. And if you got in our way, we were going to run you down because we were going to win this race. But it was here in leg 3 in Drumheller, Alberta, that we made a decision, because we realized that this whole thing was not working for us. We struggled, we almost got eliminated in leg 3, and we realized that we had to make some kind of change. So it was here in leg 3 in Drumheller in Alberta that we decided to stop. We decided to stop and start over. To not stop racing, but to stop this destructive mindset that we'd got ourselves into. First of all, we realized that we simply were not having any fun. And we began to ask ourselves, how in the world could we come this far? How could we be in this place, having been given this opportunity, and even in last place, not be enjoying ourselves? And we realized that had they had the opportunity, there were at least 9,991 other teams who would be more than happy to take our place because, folks, we beat out that many teams to be on the race. There were over 10,000 teams who applied to be on season number 1. And I'm sure that many of them, if not all of them, would have been more than happy to take our place in last place if they were able. We made a decision that day that we would get up every day and start having fun. Second, we decided that we were going to simply do our best. Now, I need you to stay with me here a minute because this could be misunderstood. It could come off sounding something like this. The Tims got themselves on a cool reality television show, discovered that they sucked, so they decided to start over, have fun, and simply do their best. It sounds a little simplistic, a little silly, and a little like something losers would say. However, I want to remind you of a little proverb that many of you have heard, and it goes something like this. Everything you ever really needed to know, you learned in kindergarten. Well, my kindergarten teacher was Mrs. Popovich. Mrs. Popovich and I would start off every day of kindergarten the same way. I would walk into class, she would look at me and she would say, "Timmy, shut up." For you see, Timmy never had a problem talking. Now, while that may be a little bit of an overstatement, a little bit of an exaggeration, what she would say every day was this: "Timmy, do your best. Just do your best." And wasn't she right? We live in a world where we are continually told that we are not pretty enough, not handsome enough, not fast enough, not strong enough, that you don't have enough of this, that you don't have enough of that we're always deficient in some way. How many of you have ever had a boss who would tell you, if you really care about your job in this country, you will come to work every day and you will give me 110%. If you really care about your job here, if you really care about what you do here, you will give me 110%. Well, I want to ask you the question, how many of you can give 110% of anything? Yeah, don't raise your hand because nobody can. The best that we can ever give, the most that we can ever give, is 100%, our best. Now, I know that there are days when I am lazy, that I'm not doing what I know I can do, but that's something completely different. That's completely different. Because the most that we can ever give, folks, on any given day is our best. From that day forward on the race, we made the decision to take the advice of a kindergarten teacher and get up every day and simply do our best. I would like to suggest to you that with our newfound frame of mind and our new Zen-like focus, that our gameplay radically changed. However, it did not. We continued to suck. This is where the race taught us the meaning of the word perseverance. When we came across the word perseverance, we realized that Tim Jr. couldn't pronounce it and I couldn't remember what it meant, so once again, back to Mr. Google. If you Google the word perseverance, you will find that it means something like this: to carry on in your course of action, even in the face of difficulty, with little or no evidence of success. Once again, to carry on in your course of action, even in the face of difficulty, with little to no evidence of success. If you Google that word, you will find something like that definition, and alongside it, the faces of the Tims. Because where you see, we never gave you any indication that we would be successful. Never was there any hope that we would actually win this thing, let alone survive it. Yet we had decided back in leg 3 that we would follow the advice of a kindergarten teacher, get up every day, simply do our best, and now persevere. To stay on our journey, even when it was difficult, even when it was hard, to stay on the path that we had been called to, and simply do our best. This is one of 3 points that I want to share with you in what it means to live your best. 3 secrets that we need to discover, learn, and incorporate into our lives in order to live our best. Number 1 is having the strength to simply do our best. And oftentimes people get a little hung up with this one. They think, well, they get this idea that it's not quite enough, that we somehow need to do more than just doing our best. But I want to remind you that this is not just a grudging getting by. It's not a bare minimum kind of settling for whatever we can manage. It's not a frustrated response where we throw up our hands and say, just do whatever you can. It's not that thing where the kids would come to you with their math back in the day, right? And they would give you this new math and you would have to just say, you know what, honey, I don't get this. Just do your best. That's not what we're talking about. But rather, doing your best is a sober acknowledgement of what our strengths and weaknesses really are. It's a willingness to look honestly at our lives and say, this is where I'm strong, this is where I'm weak. It's an honest evaluation of when we are merely being lazy, like I discussed earlier. There are those days when I'm not actively pursuing doing my best. And we need to be honest with ourselves when those days happen, because they happen to all of us. It's acknowledging when we are striving, when we're in that frame of mind that is, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. There are very few times in life when that mindset is called for. It may make good movies, but rarely is it good in life. Often we need to go into evasive maneuvers when there's torpedoes coming, not head straight into them. And the race was one of those times that we needed to get our head straight in how we were going to move forward with our race and how we were doing in it, because we were struggling over and over. Of equal importance is when we can acknowledge that, yes, in fact, we are doing our best. When we can step back from the noise and the crowd and say, yes, this is right and good, and it's enough for this moment. And we have a hard time doing that. Often I find, at least I know I do. It's hard to stop and say that, you know what, I am doing my best. I have looked at this honestly, I have evaluated it honestly, and this is the best that I can do in this moment. It's in these moments of recognizing that we are in fact doing our best that we discover contentment. Now, contentment is a difficult word to put alongside Parkinson's. It's the kind of word that can evoke a lot of negative emotions, difficult emotions. But it's something that we need to have the courage to be able to do. Contentment means this. It is an emotional state of satisfaction drawn from being at ease in one situation. An emotional state of satisfaction drawn from being at ease in one's situation. I'll often ask folks when I'm speaking in various places, are you at ease in your situation with Parkinson's? Are you in a state of satisfaction with where you are at with Parkinson's? And it's a difficult question. And I realize that it's a bit of a loaded question that can produce, like I said, lots of difficult emotions. Some people will ask, how can I be content with when Parkinson's has taken this? How can I be content when I can no longer do this? How can I be content when this disease leaves me exhausted, frustrated, in pain, and depressed day after day? While I can't address all of these details today the way that I would like, I have attempted to answer them to some degree in my book, Perseverance. And I would encourage you to pick that up and have a look at it. However, what I will say today is that an important component of living your best comes in the acceptance of what our best produces. It comes in accepting what our best is. And we know that Parkinson's has brought this home in spades, at least for me it has. That I know that there are some days that my Parkinson's will let me live this deep, if you will. It will let me function so much better than other days when it's down here. And those days, my best look very different one from the other. And that is just a simple fact that I can't change, except I can't change it. All I can do is accept it and live within it. But when we evaluate our lives honestly, making the changes that we know we are aware of, because sometimes we're not aware of things that need to be changed, but when we're aware of the changes and we attempt to make them, and we're aware that they can be changed, when we accept the reality of the things that can't be changed, and we find gratitude for all that we have been given, we will discover contentment. This is not an easy road to walk, but it is an important secret in learning to live your best when we can have the courage to be content. Number one, it is the strength to simply do your best. 2, the courage to be content. And 3, we're back to the will to persevere. To carry on in your course of action, even in the face of difficulty, with little to no evidence of success. This is the third secret of what it means to live your best, having the will to persevere. For many of us, our journey includes Parkinson's disease. No one asked us if we wanted to go on this little trip with PD. There was no opportunity to opt out. We can't take PD off some days and just hang it up for a while to give ourselves a break. We have no choice but to walk this road with the disease, but we do have a choice in how we move along this journey. I am often reminded of what I call the Wile E. Coyote response to life. It is, if you're of my generation, you grew up watching the Bugs Bunny show, and you saw Wile E. Coyote on there all the time, chasing that doggone Roadrunner, right? Well, Wile E. Coyote was insane. He lived out the perfect example of insanity, and that definition being getting up every day, doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different outcome, right? But every day the same thing happened with Wile E. Coyote. Every day he got up, he would chase that Roadrunner, he would go hard at him, and every day he would fail. He never figured out that the writers of the show weren't going to let him win, for one, that 2, he wasn't as fast as the Roadrunner, and that 3, he wasn't as smart. He wasn't ever going to catch that Roadrunner. If he had been smart, he would have found a chicken that doesn't fly, that's fatter and is better to eat. But no, he got up every day and came at that Roadrunner the same way, day in and day out, attempting to do something that he was never going to accomplish. And that's not what we want to do. That's exactly not the exact opposite of the direction we want to take when it comes to persevering. I use that definition because often people will say to you, just hang in there. Don't give up. Just hold on. And that's what Wile E. Coyote did day in and day out. He never gave up, did he? He never gave up. Every single cartoon was the same. He was back at it, hard to it. He's going to catch this Roadrunner. Didn't make it. He never gave up. He always kept going. He hung in there. Every time he ended up off the cliff, he was hanging on to the cliff by his fingernails until they stretched out, and off he goes. Plummets to the ground, and we know what happens, right? Smack hits the ground. That little lump forms on his head, pops up, stars start circling around it, little Tweety birds, and then the shadow comes, right? Here comes the shadow. It starts off small, gets bigger, 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 because here comes the cliff. Smack. It finishes him. And what does Wiley do? The cliff pops open, he pops his head out, he's all dazed and messed up, and the next day he's right back at it, trying the same things all over again, not succeeding. Whereas perseverance gives us practical, positive steps that we can take to move ourselves forward. It's not a just hang in there kind of answer. It's not a just don't give up kind of answer, because I don't know what those things mean. When you say just hang in there, what are we hanging on? What are we hanging on to? What are we hanging for? Just don't give up. Just don't give up what? Am I just supposed to roll over and die? Is that what the opposing to just don't give up is? I don't know. But perseverance, I do know. I do know that there are 7 skills that I've outlined in my book that we can take every single day and put into action. They're positive, they're practical, and they give us solid use to every day try something else to move ourselves forward and out of the position that we find ourselves in. That is the way we need to go forward. There are some people who don't, though. They get stuck. They simply check out. They emotionally pull away until things get back to the way they should be, or the way they feel they should be, or until we have a cure, or something comes along to make life right again. They choose to simply sit down until things get better again, not realizing that that couch is going to kill them. Folks, we cannot just sit down and wait things out. Whether it be COVID, whether it be Parkinson's, we have to get up and aggressively, assertively move into life and find ways to deal with the struggles that we have. There are those who will not only walk this journey with Parkinson's though, but they will choose to engage it full on. People like Eric Aquino, who goes out and starts the Gray Strong Foundation, who does something for his community, who does something about this thing that has attacked his life. They determine that they will not just simply stay on their journey, but they will be active on their journey. No matter what, they will stay on the journey that they have been called to, and they will do their level best, day in and day out, to live their best, not only for their sake, but for those around them. This decision to live my best has brought me more than I could ever imagine. I could have ever imagined. On The Amazing Race, it produced a championship. You go back to that video was made possible because we chose to take the advice of a kindergarten teacher. We chose to get up every single day to start having fun. We checked our attitude, start having fun, and to simply do our best. Not a grudging, well, let's just see what we can do, kind of do our best, but our best. Looking at what today's best looks like and working towards that end of truly living our best. It has allowed me to start a wellness center here in Winnipeg, Canada called U-Turn Parkinson's, where we empower people living with Parkinson's in their pursuit of wellness. It has drawn us to a place like the Gray Strong Foundation, where we see a need in our community, and we've attempted to meet that need through a wellness center. Through that wellness center, we provide community, we provide exercise, we provide stretching, yoga, rock steady boxing, a number of things. But the most important piece is community, that people can come together, find like-minded folks struggling with the same things that they are, and we can go forward in this disease together. It has led me to advocacy work on behalf of children trapped in poverty around the world. This is something that has absolutely nothing to do with Parkinson's disease, because you see, everything that I do has something to do with Parkinson's. And this is one thing that doesn't. This allows me to take my head out of all the things that are Parkinson's and do something completely different, which is very healthy for me. This allows me to give back to children around the world, help lift them out of poverty, and set them free from poverty in Jesus' name. Doors have opened for me to co-found the PD Avengers. The PD Avengers is a global alliance of people with Parkinson's, our partners and friends, who are choosing to stand together, demanding to see a change in how Parkinson's is seen and treated. We are working towards raising an alliance of 1 million voices by the end of 2022 that will see, well, we just believe that we have been too quiet, too silent for too long, that we need to become a loud, slightly uncomfortable, ever-present voice demanding change in how Parkinson's is seen and treated. We believe that all people around the world living with Parkinson's deserve to have basic information, basic medication, basic therapies. And we believe that there needs to be more money invested into research and seeing more done through research so that we can make a change in how we not only live well, but how we one day see Parkinson's disease cured and gotten rid of. And all of these things have come into my life because of Parkinson's. And the last one being opportunities like this. All across North America, I've had the opportunity to speak to various groups on various different topics and hopefully encourage the Parkinson's community around North America on how to live your best. And all of this because of Parkinson's. A journey that I never asked to go on, a new best friend whom I hate. However, in having the strength to simply do my best, in having the courage to be content, and in having the will to persevere, I'm learning the secrets of what it means to live my best. And as I pursue those things, I find that I have experienced more than I would have ever dreamt. I have been given more than I would have ever imagined. That Parkinson's has still given me more than it's taken by a long shot. And for that, I am incredibly grateful. So as you go from here today, I want you to remember those 3 secrets. 1, the strength to simply do your best, the courage to be content, and the will to persevere. Those are the 3 secrets you need in learning to live your best with Parkinson's disease. Thank you for listening today. I so appreciate you having me here and allowing me to share a bit of my story and hopefully some encouragement with you. Let me encourage you to engage with the Gray Strong Foundation today, to get involved with the auction and or donate as you are able. Pick up a copy of my book, Perseverance. You can order it through your local bookseller. You can also find it on Amazon, on Audible, and Kindle. And thank you for allowing me to join you today.
I want to give a huge thank you to all our sponsors this evening: Abbott, Cella Films, Fidelity Bank, Medtronics, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, Nippon Life, Northampton Country Club, Shepherd Hills Golf Club, Steels Club, Yanni's Tavern, and the Yoga Hut. Thank you for joining us at home. We know you have many choices for your charitable donations. We truly appreciate you choosing the Gray Strong Foundation. Thank you and have a great evening.